Okay. All right. Hello, everybody. Are we ready to go? Is there anybody there? Can I get a response in the house? All right. Hello, everybody. Are we ready to go? All right. Let me turn this down. I just want to know if there's someone there. Oh, yes. Tasha has signed in. It's good to see you, Tasha. And I hope you've had a good day. Tonight we are talking about 5 ways to be a spouse magnet. Would you like to be able to magnetize a spouse in your life? And if so, how do you do that? What it is to attract, another word for magnetize, is to attract someone. What is a magnet? Good to see you, Patricia. What are magnets used for? Just before we start, and while we're waiting for people to come in the room, I want to know what you consider a magnet is and what is it usually used for. And then I want you to tell me what are some of the things that you have been attracting, magnetizing, or drawing into your life. No, you don't have to tell me the negative things. You can tell me the positive things, because we are living magnets. Human beings magnetize into their lives and repel out of their life things according to their dominant thoughts. We will come on to that. But if you can tell me in the chat box, what do you consider a magnet to be? What are magnets used for? And probably, what are some of the things that constantly show up in your life? Some people say that they are good lucky. Some people say they are always bad lucky, or they are bad lucky with certain things. I don't believe necessarily in luck. However, we are going to explore tonight things that can magnetize, can attract, or draw into your life someone who is special for you. Just giving you a chance to put that. A magnet is a tool used to attract. Yes, I say I agree with that. Anybody else want to hazard a guess? Anybody else? We're going to start in a minute. In 1 minute, I'm going to give you the presentation. So while we're waiting for other people to connect, okay. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, If there are any men here, we are about to start our webinar tonight. I'm going to ask you to pause what you're doing and we will pray and then launch. Father in heaven, we thank you for the day. We thank you for the life that you've given us. We thank you for the fact that with the Holy Spirit, we will draw kindred spirit, people who are of the same spiritual nature and value like we are. And so tonight, as we go through another webinar, I am asking that you be with us, that you would guide us, you will direct us, and more so you will inspire us to action, inspire us to present ourselves and show up in ways that would cause the right people and persons to be attracted to us and repel all the individuals that are wrong, undesirable, and not good for us. In Jesus' name, amen. Okay, guys, are we all ready to start? Okay. Patricia says a magnet only attracts things it's supposed to and repel other things such as metal. Yes, for a magnet, but no for plastic. I like that. This is beautiful, Patricia. Tasha B says, I seem to attract Christians to my life and we tend to connect, but also women who are outgoing. That's very good. I like these. I like the comments that you've been making. A magnet only attracts things it is supposed to attract, and it repels other things, other metals or attract metals, and it doesn't attract plastic or any non-metal substance or element. Well said, Patricia. I like that. I'm going to start now to speak about how you can attract, how you could be a magnet to magnetize, to attract, to draw people in your life. So let us begin. Now I'm going to use the word magnet to talk about, to explain, to give you an idea of how you can attract, how you can magnetize, how you can meet the right person for you. I'm going to use the word magnet, and we're going to use the acronym of the letters in the word magnet. So M is for meet needs. Meet needs. A is for availing yourself, to be available, to accept yourself and to accept other people, to avoid certain things. So A has 3 A's: of being available, being accepting, and avoiding. The letter G is to give and get help. To give and get help. The letter N is for no, which is really to set up borders, parameters, and to have boundaries in your life. Believe it or not, although it's seemingly it probably is what we're going to talk about in terms of setting up borders and boundaries. You may think that when you set out your borders, your principles, your boundaries, you will repel people. And yes, you will, but you will also attract the right persons. E, the letter E, is for the environment, the type of environment you set for yourself, whether physical, mental, or people environment. Oh boy, we're going to talk about that. We spoke a little about that last session. And then we will also explore E for expectations, and also E for engaging and engagement. And finally, the letter T is for time. Time. And time scales, time frames, and schedules, or schedules, depending on the pronunciation that you prefer. So let us start. Let us start about how we can magnetize people by meeting needs. And I'm going to be talking about emotional needs, meeting needs. I guarantee you, $1 against a dog biscuit. If you begin to meet the needs of people, you will attract into your life so many people. Crowds and hordes of people will beat a path to your heart's door if you begin to meet their needs, and also if you begin to meet your own needs. But before we go on, I want to explain and I want to ask you, what is an emotional need? What is an emotional need? I know that there is a little bit of a time delay now, so I am going to put that question out there, and then I'll come back to see what you have said, and we will explore that. So meet needs. There are some basic needs that we have. And there are some general needs. I spoke at length about this when we had our physical seminar. But all I'm suggesting here is something that Jesus Christ himself did. That you begin to meet the basic emotional needs of people. And if you can also meet their specific emotional needs. Here are some needs that we have. We all have a need for security. Whenever you're interacting with people, you need to make them feel safe. All of us need to feel safe. All of us need to feel secure. All of us have this basic need. In order for us to thrive and grow and expand, we need to be secure. Are you making the people in your life secure? Are you sending out a safe vibe to people who you meet? And I believe if you do, and if you are doing that, people will like you. People will be attracted to you. People will be magnetized to you. We also need to connect. There are many levels of connection. There is the connect. You could connect with the eyes. I notice that in this country, in England, in London, people don't connect using the eyes. They shift away quite easily. But just simply holding and locking someone's eyes. I don't like it. I don't even like the term lock. But just simply holding the eye attention for a little bit longer than usual is enough to arouse interest in this person. When we're speaking to people, we tend to shift our eyes away and from. But I am suggesting to you, you could even try it as an experiment. Whenever you see someone, and you smile at them and you just connect with your eyes and let them know that, you are acknowledging them. It doesn't mean, and I'm not going to say that you stare people down. No, that is not what I'm asking you to do. But just simply, science has shown that when you look into the eyes of another, and lovers like to look into each other's eyes, you're looking into their souls, and there seems to be a connection. So make a connection. That's the visual connection. Make a verbal connection. Say hi. Hello, how are you? That is not something that is done very much in this country, but try as much as you can in the next week or so to connect with people visually and verbally. And you also connect physically. And by physically, I'm not talking about intimate or passionate or that kind of connection. I'm just simply sometimes shaking hands, giving a hug, a slight tap or slap, or, on the shoulder, on the hands, when you're laughing and joking. That connection, when you connect with people, you will be surprised. Jesus himself tended to connect with the people with whom he came in contact with. Those people whom he healed, he laid his hands on them. He spoke with them. And people said, never a man spake as he spoke. And people were drawn to him because of this. We also have a need to achieve. You need to achieve. Similarly, if you can support other people, in their process, in their progress, in the process of them achieving, you will find that these people will be attracted to you. And then there is privacy. Obviously, there are different levels of privacy, but you must also be aware when you're interacting with people, and I think you are already aware, that you need not to invade their privacy unless it is safe for you to do that. And people like to have fun. Believe it or not, all of us like fun. Nobody likes a sourpuss. So I know sometimes my wife tells me I'm boring, and that's something I probably need to work on. She has a good laugh with the children, and she has fun with them. I probably need to loosen up a lot more than I am. But being fun, everybody likes to be around someone who is lighthearted, who could crack a joke, who could accept a joke, and I am not telling anything that you don't know. And then there is meaning and status and control, and people like to be a part of a community. And sometimes if we begin to embody these things, you will find that people will like to be with you. People will be drawn to you. People will be magnetized towards you. Well, there are other aspects of meeting emotional needs. But let me just go back. Let me go back, and I'm going to check in the chat room to see what you have said about emotional needs. Okay. Tasha says acceptance, unconditional love. And she says a provision that feeds your emotional health. Interesting. Pat says a need for feeling okay and well-being are met. But I'm going to explain, I am going to piggyback on all the things that you have said, and I'm going to suggest to you also that an emotional need is a need that is necessary for you to function at your optimum. It's something that you need to make you thrive, to make you feel happy, to make you feel satisfied. If you don't have these needs, if they're not satisfied, you're going to become irritable, you're going to become frustrated, you're going to even feel angry. Yes, if your emotional needs aren't met, you won't be happy. If your emotional needs are met, you will be very, very frustrated. You will be, like I mentioned before, a sourpuss. Things will trigger you. But when your emotional needs are met, you will be happy, you will blossom, you will bloom, you will have a glow about you, you will be willing and happy to bound out of bed every morning to achieve the day's accomplishment. So those are what I call emotional needs. And if we begin to be aware of our own emotional needs, if we begin to meet our own emotional needs, you will find that you are going to be very attractive. Let me give you an example. An example is, if you are a person who likes an organized environment. There are some people who are a bit perfectionistic. They like everything in their place, organized in the room. They like the room to be not just relatively clean, spick and span, spotless, clean. If somebody comes and upsets the room, you're not going to feel comfortable. You're going to feel itchy, edgy and irritated. And until everything is organized, until everything is put in its place, until everything is nice and clean, you won't be able to function at your optimum. And you need to make sure that that need is satisfied. When that is satisfied, you will feel good. You will feel happy. You will feel, comfortable and satisfied. And when you feel that way, you will show up that way. You will show up as a happy person. You will show up as a satisfied person. You will show up as a person full of energy, and you will show up as a person being alive. And people will be drawn to the vibes that you set out. Whereas, if your needs are not satisfied, Again, you'll be irritable. Again, you'll be edgy. Again, you'll be easily ticked off. And that's the way you're going to show up. And people will not be attracted to that or you. Another thing that I think that you are aware of is what I call, and what is popularly known as, love language. The love language simply says that many of us interpret love in specific ways. Some people like to hear words of affirmation. They like to hear people tell them that they like them, they're attracted to them, they're interested in them, and they love them. That just fills them and makes them feel excited and makes them, just blush and bloom. Other people like touch, physical expression of love. They like to be affectionately hugged and touched and squeezed and pinched and the rest of it. And that tells them that this person loves them. Some people like what they call acts of service. They like people to do things for them, to fix breakfast in bed for them, to perhaps fill the tank of the car with petrol for them. When you do things for them, it signals to this person that you love them. And then there is time. Some people just like you to be around. They like you to be there to sit and talk and just be in their presence, bask in their presence. And other people like gifts. Now, what is important is that you need to be very clear about what your love language is, how you interpret love and how you express love. But what is even more important, you need to be very clear, lucidly clear, about how other people interpret love. So, the Bible says that do unto others as you would have them do unto you. This is one area that you should never actually do that. This is one area that you could break that commandment. What you need to do is to do unto others as they would have you do unto them. Let me repeat that again. Do unto others as they would have you do unto them. And so all I'm saying here is that when you understand people's language, love language, the way they express and want love to be expressed to them, when you do that, I am telling you, people will melt in your hands because you are feeding them not just the language of love, you are feeding them love itself. Now, don't be fooled. Don't be fooled. Many of us, by default, tend to do to others what we want them to do to us. So if we like words, we just shower affectionate words to them. We tell them how we love them no end. But if that person prefer you to be touching them, nothing you say, it would be like water falling off a duck's back. And in fact, if you're married to such a person, they would be convinced beyond a shadow of a doubt that you don't love them. Enough of that. Enough said. So speak in people's love language. Now, I'm going on to the letter A. Remember, we dealt with M, which is to meet the needs of the people that you come in contact with, and also to meet your own needs. The second one that I want to explore here is to avail yourself. Now, it goes without saying that you need to show up. In Genesis chapter 24, here we have a classic example of two people showing up at the well. The first person was the servant of Abraham. And basically, oh, by the way, I never even checked to see that you're hearing me. But I trust that you are. Let's just see. Okay. It would be a major disaster for me to be prattling on if you're not hearing me. Oh, great. Yes. I'm just checking. The thought just hit me. Are they actually hearing me? Great. Right. Let's get back to this. You know, I was talking about the fact that you need to show up. Someone is looking for you. Someone is looking for a person as nice as you are to marry you. And look, the person is scratching his head to find out, where is this wonderful lady, young woman? Where is that person? Where is she hiding? So you have to show up. I was speaking about the people in Genesis 24. The servant, you know, he wanted to find a young lady. He wanted to find someone who he can take back to Isaac as a bride. And so he showed up. But you can't just show up any place. You have to show up. If you want to fish, you need to show up where fishes are. More than likely, you need not only to show up where fishes are, you need to show up at a particular place where the fish is likely to be biting. So it's no use wanting fish and going to the forest. And it's no use going to the sea, although you want to fish, and fishing in a place where there are little or no fish. So you need to show up. It doesn't matter how beautiful you are, how good you are, or even how valuable you are. If men don't know you exist, there is absolutely no chance of getting a husband. I want to repeat that. It doesn't matter how beautiful you are, how good you are, or even how valuable you are. If men don't know you exist, there is absolutely, positively no chance of getting a husband. So the servant of Abraham showed up at the well where the women are most likely to come to draw water. And B, our good friend Rebecca showed up at the well. So you need to show up. Now, how can you make it easy for the right person to spot you, to be attracted to you? How can you make it easy? I'll give you several pointers now. First of all, be a go-about. I want to explain something to you. We need to learn something from teenagers and young people. And if you think about it, when you were young, you were always up and about. There is a massive fight in my house right now. My children, there's an early teenager and a teenager, 14 going on 15. They complain no end that the house is like a prison. They always want to be out and about. They want to meet up with their friends. They want to go where their friends are. They want to go to the park. They want to go and hang out. I guess soon they're going to want to go to parties and all of this. Now, this is quite interesting. Although it is an annoyance to parents, because for us, we want to protect them when they get with their group, with their friends, with their quote-unquote gang. We don't know what they get up to, and we don't want them to be hanging around and hanging out with the wrong person. All that is nice and good. But there is an inner drive, an intrinsic drive as they become young adults, as they begin to grow muscles and become attractive. They want to be in a place where they can be seen, where they can increase the probability of having someone be attracted to them. Unfortunately, as we grow older, as we mature, and we go to school and we get a job, we get stuck in the rut of simply going to work, going to church, and maybe to the gym. Let me just say something here, and I need to point it out, that you need to expose yourself as much as possible in as many different places as possible in order for you to be able to attract someone. You can host. Well, that's an example that I have here, hosting. But here are several places, or generic and general places, that I want to give you. Now, where can you show up? You can show up in public places. Just good old-fashioned, having a walk in the park, going out and about, going to the store. It's interesting. It's interesting that there is a movement, a subtle shift in people having private lives, very private lives. For example, do you know that you can actually live in your house without going out? Some people are beginning to work from home. Some people are now shopping online. A lot of people are communicating online on their phones. And the ability and the capacity for us to go out and meet people is shrinking. And that is terrible. That is terrible. Years ago, we had to go and get water. Physically go out and get water, physically go out and get firewood, physically go out and buy something at the grocery store. We had to physically go to church. Nowadays you can go to church online, and all of these increase the probability for us to meet, connect, and engage with people, and also increase the possibility and the probability of finding and meeting someone who we are attracted to and who is attracted to us. So let us now say that you expose yourselves. You go shopping, you can go to the library, you can just take a walk down the road, just go out and about. And then there is what is called generic single settings. Well, generic single settings are things like the clubs, single clubs, or if there are some single events that's put on by some churches or some places in the community. And by the way, public places would include things like car boot sales, community events, and other national events. Sometimes there are marathons being put on, and ever so often you have a lot of public events. So there is also special interest activities. By special interest activities, we mean things that you are interested in. So if you're a cyclist, like I know one of you likes to cycle, you can go to a new cycle club. I know there is someone here who's into photography. There is someone here who's into hair. And all of these, there are meetups. There are places that these people go. And, if you're accustomed to going to one for years and years and years and years, please switch to another. And if there isn't any, create one. And I tell you what that does. If you're going to the same gym for 2, 3, 4 years, just find a new gym. If you're going to the same church, find a new church. I'll give you an example of this. I was doing a seminar once, and this girl told me, Hilton, she was about 40 years. She said she's been going to a church, and she was the youngest person in the church. The youngest person. She was maybe between her late 30s, nearly 40, and she was the youngest person. And eventually it did dawn on her that she has to leave. She has to find another place to go, another community to join if she wants to interact with people and increase her probability of meeting someone. And then there is your network. Your network is that of your friends and their friends, your family and their network, your colleagues and their network. And then there are highly aligned communities. Now, these communities are communities where you share similar values. For example, you have the spiritual community, people that share similar spiritual values like you do. Then, there are people who are into politics, and hence they join a political affiliation. There are some people who are into campaigning, environmental campaigning, and they are vegans, and there are so many different types of people with so many different types of interests. When you join a group that has similar values, similar goals and intentions and aspirations as you are, that's called a highly aligned group or community. And it is very likely that you can meet someone who has similar values to you if you're in such a group. I'll give you an example. An example is this lady told me that she was doing a soup kitchen Christmas, and it was as she was dishing out the soup that she started speaking to this guy who was next to her, and eventually they formed a relationship and got married. Can you imagine that? That's because they were doing charity work together. So they had interest. That one of the values that aligned was being, doing something good and giving back to the community without being paid for it. Okay. It is important for me to say here that even though there is an explosion of dating websites, the good old-fashioned traditional way of meeting people is still in vogue. Many people are still meeting other people because they have been introduced to that person through one of their friends or family or colleague. So the more you increase your database, the more likely it is that you meet people who might be potential spouses. Men cannot know about you. They cannot meet you. You cannot meet them except through your acquaintances, friends, and places you go. Now, I'm going to read that again because it's worth saying again. Men cannot know about you. They cannot meet you. You cannot meet them except through your acquaintances, through your friends, and through the places that you go. Do you understand that? This quote really is taken from a book, Fascinating Womanhood, and I'm going to share this book with you. This book or series of pamphlets was actually written in the 1920s. And it's really a very, very, very good resource. Right? So men cannot meet you. They cannot know about you, and you cannot meet them except through your acquaintances. So the more acquaintances, the more friends you have, the higher the chances. The more people you know, the more places you go, the more men you are likely to meet, and the more likely it is to meet the one for you. Okay, so connect with people who are socialites. Connect with people who are socialites. And if there are some people who are extroverts and they know everyone. I have this friend of mine, and in fact, it's through him really that I met my wife. If he walked into a room, he knew almost everybody in that room. And if you know of such people, it is good to actually get them or befriend them, because it will be easier for you to connect with other people through them. So think about someone who you know who is a very popular person. And if you are not already friends with them, seek ways of becoming their friend. What that would do, that would help you to expand your database through their network I've already spoken to you about something called the 6 degrees of separation. The theory goes that you are 6 persons away from the person you want to meet or the thing you want to do. So the person you want to meet knows someone who 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 is connected to you. Well, another A is to really avoid love busters. There are certain things that literally cause people to be to just not want to be with you. And let me see if you can tell me what are some major turn-offs for men and for women. I'm going to pause here and get myself some water while you type into the chat box what are some of the turn-off, some things that men are generally turned off from and some things that women are generally turned off from. Has everyone showered? Tyrone, has everyone showered? Are you doing anything productive? Can you guys get together and worship? No, I'm not finished. I'm halfway. Yeah, I've just taken a quick break. Yeah. Can you guys worship together, please? Yes, simple. Okay, I'm back. Let's just check to see. Okay, okay, I'm not sure. Good. Not looking after yourself, coming out to a date in dirty clothes. Men are turned off by very needy women, but they also like women to be vulnerable. I like that, Nia. I like that. If you're too needy, desperate, men are generally turned off by desperate. Men are also turned off by drama queens, what is known as drama queens. And Patricia, you're quite right. The whole hygiene thing is a big thing for both men and women. We need to be well presented. Right, I'm going to just go on and just mention a couple. Bad hygiene, people who are dramatists, who have an axe to grind, a chip on their shoulder. And you know, the Bible speaks about in 1 Corinthians a number of things that need to be addressed or need to be avoided. People who are pompous, people who are arrogant, people who are who think of themselves only, people who have what I call a anger management issue. These people are people who many other people would not and do not and are not attracted to and are repulsed and repelled by. So be very careful of those. Okay, Acceptance. We're still on number 2. Oh, letter 2. To accept people. One of the things I share with even married people and married couples, and some things that I myself struggle with, is to accept the other person for who they are, warts and all. All of us want to be accepted. Even children who are disrespectful, who are rude, who are rebellious, they are looking for acceptance. And they say that when you accept a child beyond and above his negative behavior, it is more likely that that child would respond to you. People want to be accepted. One of the things I've come across that I and most men struggle with is what is known as an imposter syndrome, which means that you feel like you're an imposter. You feel like you're fake. And I remember one time I did a television show for a friend of mine. He was the host. And after the television show, this guy is a guy who is popular. He was in the music industry. He had his own. And as we were sitting down and talking, he said something that actually surprised and shocked me. He said, sometimes one of his greatest fear is that somebody would come up to him and tell him that he's a fake. He's not supposed to be there. And I couldn't believe that. I couldn't bring myself to understand why he thought that. But I had similar thoughts too. I could understand why I thought that, but I couldn't understand why he, who seemed a lot more outgoing, who even more accomplished, and had a television show. But it is said that many of us have a running base, subconscious, hidden thought. If you really knew who I am, will you still love me? If you really knew me, will you still love me? Which is really, most of us are looking for people to accept us for who we are. And that is why many men do not show their vulnerable sides to women, because they hate, and you know this, being rejected. I like a song. I think it was a lady Dottie Rambo, who sang it. And there's a line in that song which says, "He sees beyond my faults and sees my needs." He sees beyond my faults and sees my need. I like that. I love that song. And similarly, we need to understand that all human beings want you to see beyond their faults, want you to see beyond the issues that they have, see beyond their behavior, see beyond their imperfection, and see that they have needs and be empathetic with it. In 1 Peter 3:8 it says, "Finally, all of you, be like-minded, be sympathetic, love one another, be compassionate and humble." Become compassionate and humble. In Ephesians it says, "Be ye kind one to another, tender-hearted, forgiving one another, even as Christ, for God's sake, even as God, for Christ's sake, has forgiven you." And lots of people, when they know that you have a compassionate heart, when they understand that you care for them, when they realize that you accept them for who they really are, then you would find that people will be drawn to you. Men want a safe place. This is about safety and security, in a place where they could be themselves, where they could be naked. I'm not just talking about physical nakedness, when they could be vulnerable and yet know that you are going to accept them. When you realize that they're not all what they cut out to be, or what they show themselves to be, or what they put up front, to be. Right. So help people feel safe with you. When people feel safe with you, you will find that they would love you and they would want to permanently attach themselves to you. So make a safe base, a safe place. Make your space a safe place for people to be. Right, now let's get to G. M-A-G. G is to give help and to get help. Oh man, I just need to check to see how much time we have been spending here. Oh, back to this one. Men are turned off by very needy. Yes, a demanding woman or a woman or women who are very clear as to what she wants. I'm not too sure whether or not that a person who's clear about what she wants, that repels people. I think a person who demands and who is a controlling person is someone people are repulsed from. But it's good to be clear about what you want. It is how you come over that's important. Another thing that just came to my mind, men just don't like women who mother them, who manage them and micromanage them. All right, let's go back to the letter G, which is to give help and get help. To give help and get help. Interestingly, when we read the story, when we read in the Gospel and in Acts, we find that Jesus was a very popular person. Swarms of crowds. In Mark alone, there are about 30 references about the crowds coming out to see Jesus, to be healed by Jesus. And the reason why they were magnetized to Jesus was Jesus supplied their needs. He says, "Come unto me, all ye that are weary and heavy laden, and I will give you rest." Jesus supplied their physical needs. Jesus supplied their spiritual needs. Jesus supplied needs for their health. He healed the sick. He gave sight to the blind, speech to the dumb. He made the people who couldn't hear, the deaf hear, the lame was raised, the lepers were cleansed. You know, if you help people, you will be amazed at the response you would get. Matthew 15:30 and 31 says, "Then great multitudes came to him, having with them the lame, the blind, the mute, the maimed, and many others. And they laid them down at Jesus' feet, and he healed them. So the multitude marveled when they saw the mute speaking, the maimed made whole, the lame walking, and the blind seeing, and they glorified the God of Israel." When you help people, you will be surprised at how many other people would be attracted to you. I say that helping is an underrated element of beauty. And here's the little quote that I have. You don't need to be beautiful to be attractive. You only need to be useful, and people will find you both beautiful and attractive. Right, I want to give you a quick story about that. And it's a story I heard from a preacher of a little boy who grew up with his mom. And when he was young, he loved his mom, and then he was sent to nursery and then primary school. And as he grew up or went to school, he began to become resentful about his mom coming to pick him up, because his mom had very scary, burnt hands, and he was embarrassed about his mom. And he, at one point in time, got the courage to tell his mom that he didn't want her to come and pick him up. Maybe the neighbor could pick him up because the neighbor had children in his class too. And the mom realized that he was a bit apprehensive, he was a bit embarrassed about how she appeared. And one evening his mom told him the story of when he was small, a baby, a story which included the fact that the house caught on fire and she was outside the house, and to save him she rushed in to get him, even when people were trying to prevent her from going in. She went into the fire to save her child, and in the process of doing that, she got burnt, and she sheltered him by cuddling him and covering him, and her hands and shoulders got burnt, severely burnt, and that's the scars that she had were a result of that incident. And the little boy cried, and from then on those hands became the most beautiful hands ever. He was happy for the mom to come and pick him up anytime, any place. He grew up to be proud of his mom. Now what changed? The hands didn't change. It was what the hands did that changed. His perception and perspective changed. Similarly, it doesn't matter if you are skinny, if you are overweight, if you are tall, if you are short. It doesn't matter whether or not you have scars. It doesn't really matter. What matters is how useful you become. And when you become useful, people will find you both beautiful and attractive. So how useful are you? People must be better because of you. Anyone who comes into your life must be better. Ellen White says in one of her books that, a young man must think whether or not this woman will ennoble him. Young women must think about, is this person good for me? Will they help me in my pursuit of a career, in my pursuit of a better life, in my pursuit of heaven, of growth? Will they be better because of you? And when you become useful to someone, I guarantee you, pounds against peanuts, that person will want to make you a permanent part of their life. Okay. 4. We're coming up to the top of the hour, and I think that we're going to have to probably split this in half. We're going to probably have to split this presentation in half. But I'm going to just say, I'm going to finish on this, saying no, having borders. And by borders, I mean that you must have principles, you must have standards, you must have parameters, if you want to pronounce it that way. People must know where you stand on issues, because having boundaries, borders, principles will tell people how to treat you. If you don't have any, people are going to walk all over you. You are going to be weak, even though you may think that you're thinking that you're saying yes to be nice to people, but they won't respect you. Sometimes you need to clearly say, well, you know what? That is not nice, and I don't particularly like that. I would much prefer that you don't do this. Sometimes you're going to have to say, look, when you did that, it hurt me, and I don't like when people do this to me. And that person will more than likely recognize that what he or she did wasn't in line and in favor, and it didn't bode well with you, and they're less likely to do it in the future. Another thing that borders do is to create a safe space for people to operate in. They know where you stand on certain issues, and hence they could flex with you. They could interact and engage with you in ways that they know it will be safe, and they will avoid the other issues that are not to your liking. So have borders and parameters, and be clear about them. Be clear that you don't and will not stand for abuse, whether physical or verbal. You're not going to stand for abuse. And if they don't stop, you're not going to, you just won't. If you try to be nice, if you play nice when things are burning you, when things are affecting you, it's not going to end well, because one day you're going to blow up and people are going to wonder, why? Are you crazy or mad? If you're clear, and you need to be clear, and I think I have another program on, how to set your borders and your values and how to make them clear to people so that they are very much aware of how they respond and how they treat you. How you allow someone to treat you is very, very much dependent on the type of principles, the type of borders, and the type of things that you have. I think I'm going to stay here today. I'm going to tell you, I'll just pause for questions, and then perhaps either I will do a set of videos and send them to you, or we can finish this off next week. Sorry. So I'm going to there's a lot to cover here, but I'm going to come to the question part. Okay, do you have any questions? Oh, I'm very sorry. Okay, now what do you think about some of the things that we discuss in a way of attracting someone in your life? And are there comments? Are there things that you think you can do? Things that you can change in order to set your life up in such a way as to magnetize and attract someone in your life? It may be that you need to set yourself up so that you can get more friends. I don't know how many friends you have at this point in time, but you need to expand those borders. It may be that you need to go out and be helpful. It probably might be that you're thinking that you definitely need to be out and about more. So what are some of the challenges based on the things that I've spoken about that you are struggling with? You can either put them in the chat, or you can WhatsApp me directly, or give me a call and we will talk about them. I know Patricia sent me a WhatsApp message about making the rest of the respect available from lessons 2 to 8. I thought they were all available. I just need to check to see. What if you're trying to magnetize a man, but his friend likes you? And I'm presuming that the question is implying that you like the man, but you're not particularly interested in his friend. So the person that you're liking doesn't seem to be responding to you, but his friend is responding to you. Now, there are three things you need to be clear about. First of all, does this person, the friend, the person that you're liking, is he interested in you in that way? We have to appreciate the fact that not everybody will like us in that way. In the same way, you don't like every person who comes and shows interest in you. There are some people who are just not your type or your cup of tea, and you don't have anything against them, but it's not someone that you will share your life in an intimate way with. And that is so for not just you, for other people too. And even people you like may not like you the same way. So you have to somehow or the other divine, is it possible that this person will come to like you? Does he know that you have interest in him? Or does he just see you as a sister and doesn't have that kind of interest in you? Secondly, if it is that you are around this person, you have showed interest and he hasn't responded, well, you have to accept that he's not interested. So once you get some clarity on that, you need now to ask yourself, the friend who's showing interest in you, do you see yourself as perhaps having him as a companion, as a spouse? Maybe you're not. So the question would be, if you look at your family life template, can he fit, or would he be able to be part of that family life? If not, then you probably need, all right, he was once interested, but his desires change. I think I was too useful. He expressed an interest, but I wasn't interested then. So when he was interested, you weren't interested. And now that you are interested, he seemed to have moved on. So if he has moved on, is he available? Does he have other interests? And if he is available, if he is still single and available, then I don't see a problem in perhaps indicating and showing your interests, particularly if he once had interests. But if he is not available, if he is interested in someone else, or if he has someone else in his life, then you got to move on. You just got to face the reality of the situation. Okay, I hope that helps. I'm not sure. However, if the person who is showing interest in you can make a suitable partner and they don't have any deal breakers, I don't see any reason why you shouldn't entertain and explore the possibility. Right, this ties with the comment you made about love language and doing what the other person needs. Magnets also will respond to some things, like will not respond to wood plastic, which is a great way of understanding relationship. Very useful today. Okay, well, Tasha, why not speak to me? Let's do a one-on-one so that we could tease out, because I am not too familiar with the details of the situation that you're explaining, so I'm just giving general advice, and then we could take it from there. Okay, any other questions or comments? I am going to finish this off And then we would resume and continue next week. We have a lot to cover because next week we want to explore how to be found, where to find, I'll explore in a lot more detail where to find eligible prospects and what Christian men can't resist. I have a video series on that and I'm going to share that video series with you. In the meanwhile, I hope you're able to finish the lessons on how to respect a man. I'll have to look into see what's the problem. Some people seem to be having a problem of not being able to see all of or explore all of the lessons. Okay, thank you very much. If there are no more questions or comments, we are going to sign off, and I'm just going to offer a quick word of prayer. Father, we thank you for what we have discussed so far. I pray that you would help us to attract the right people in our life, the right persons to us, and help us also to repel and avoid attracting the wrong people, because this life, this thing is so important that getting the wrong person in our lives is a recipe for disaster, not only mentally and even physically, but spiritually. I pray for every person who's in this group. I pray that you would guide and direct them, and that you will help them to grow and develop and to attract people who are of kindred spirit and value. Sorry. In Jesus' holy name, amen. Well, that's it. I will talk to you soon. Is there anybody else who's having a problem with seeing the lessons on respect? And what I want to find out is, are you looking at it from on the mobile or on a desktop or laptop? Because if you're looking at it on a mobile, by the way, let's finish and I'll contact you afterwards. All right, take care, stay strong, stay blessed.